Welcome to Women's Leadership Today, presented by Progressive Women's Leadership. We're your hosts. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Nikolette. We're bringing you the latest in leadership development. Every month at Progressive Women's Leadership, we have a different theme. June's theme is collaboration.
Yeah, this is a great one, Nikolette. I'm really happy that we're starting off with this one because collaboration can be such a real struggle in the workplace. And it doesn't matter where you work, if you work with 3 people, 30 other people. And typically we don't get to choose our coworkers, and working together with others isn't always easy. And, I've been with our organization for, almost 20 years now. And I feel so fortunate that we have such a great dynamic team. But I will tell you, back in my day, I have certainly worked with some very challenging individuals, to say the least. Oh my goodness. I think I was even telling you about one I was thinking of when we were planning today's event. And this was a woman that she'd been with the company I was with before, long time, great at her job. She really excelled at her job. But the challenge was when it came to working with other people, and she would get, a bee in her bonnet. And unfortunately, there was an issue we didn't see eye to eye on. I remember very well. I don't remember the issue. I just remember that we didn't really see eye to eye on a particular issue. It was okay, handled it professionally. But as I was managing my team, I started to notice a real shift where before we'd come in, say good morning, kind of chit chat about our day, our weekend, go back and forth before diving in. All of a sudden, the mood kind of shifted where I'd come in and my team they'd say good morning. They were courteous. They were polite. But that was it.
Yeah.
So not anything I could really put my thumb on or really complain about. They did their job. But I really noticed a shift in the vibe, and it was, it was a little upsetting and disconcerting. But again, not anything I could really challenge them on, because yes, technically they still were doing their job and they were still, courteous and polite. But boy, when that happens, it can really impact your team dynamic. And I felt that we just didn't have that same flow. And before, when we would get together and brainstorm ideas, would have that really dynamic back and forth, we just didn't have it at that same level. And we just weren't getting the same results. And it was just a real shame. So that, unfortunately, was, certainly an example of where, team collaboration was, that dynamic was hurt. How about you? I'm sure you've dealt with situations like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had tons of different jobs over the last few years in many, many different industries. And I know for sure I had this one job at the deli counter at a grocery store. And there was really this rough back and forth, this us versus them mentality. Yeah, as Ashley Cox would have said in her last presentation, the us versus them kind of deal. This was like the perfect example of that. Day shift versus night shift. If you've ever worked in an industry where there's a day shift and a night shift, I'm sure that you've seen this dynamic, right? Night shift didn't clean up properly, day shift didn't set up properly, and then all of a sudden we're just butting heads all the time. Now, I had the unique position because I was in school of working both day shift and night shift, since I had such a up in the air schedule. So I knew people on each side, and I had a relationship with coworkers on each side of the dynamic. And I know for day shift, they really didn't like this one woman that was mostly on night shift all the time. She was a full-time worker. She handled most of the night shift. And they would always, I'd get in there and they'd always start chitty-chatting, saying about how she wasn't doing her job, she wasn't cleaning up properly. And every single day it seemed to get more and more venomous. Now, I worked on night shift as well, so I had gotten to know this woman. But, I've been in situations where the gossip gets really bad. And, I'm not above gossip. I have been there before. And Yeah, like if I hadn't worked on night shift, I might have gotten dragged into this and, gotten into that kind of dynamic where it was like, yeah, she left this, and this, and because it's, as humans, we naturally want to fit in. We naturally want to form cliques. And when that gossip is happening, if I was just on day shift, I might have fallen into that and, bonded with them over that. Which is something that happens all the time, just naturally, even if we don't realize we're doing it. Not necessarily because we're bad people, but just because, we want to fit in. But I had the unique experience of getting to know everyone, having a relationship with everyone on the team. And because of that, I felt really bad about what was happening, this back and forth between night shift. And I had gotten to know the woman on night shift, and she was very, very nice. She was very kind, and she worked really hard. But, she would be saying the same stuff at night. She would be like, those day shift girls, they don't set anything up. They don't leave anything clean for us, blah, 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 blah. So, it was kind of hard for me to go back and forth between the two shifts. And, there were times where it made me so uncomfortable. I had to just stand up and say, like, maybe we shouldn't, we shouldn't be gossiping. We shouldn't be going back and forth. There was a not so nice word I wanted to use there, but and kind of stand up for each other. You know what I mean? And the company really didn't do much to foster better communication between the two teams. I mean, the only interaction the two sides had was when the day shift was clocking out, the night shift was clocking in. So nobody really chatted. Nobody really got along. I mean, the night shift girl would walk in, the day shift girls would roll their eyes, and that was the most interaction they had. And I was thinking, like, if they had just gotten to know each other a little bit, if they have just had a chance to form a relationship, I feel like it would have been, so much more pleasant, that work experience. And I feel like we might have even worked a little harder to set things up for each other, to make sure that things were the way we wanted. Like, if the day shift girls had been able to sit down and have a conversation with her and said, like, we really would prefer if you left it like this. It makes this easier for us in the morning. And she could have said, I would prefer if you did this way. I feel like it would have been a more pleasant work experience. But in reality, it was really stressful at the end of the day with all that gossip and that, especially because I knew all the women equally.
Yeah, and you see that a lot. Like you said, that us versus them. And it could be anything, night shift, day shift, accounts payable, payroll,
Yeah.
Front of house, back of house, and
editor, social media.
And you can really create that toxic environment. I mean, the good thing I think we're really seeing these days is that a lot of companies are putting a lot of effort to really try to build a strong company culture. And it's really important to focus on that relationship building. So in that example, if that company had focused on that relationship building, not night shifts, not day shift, we're all on the same team, we're working towards the same goal, that could have really made a difference. In my example too, perhaps, looking hindsight, perhaps even I should have stepped up and said, you know what, let's take a look and let's do some more relationship building. What can we do to get that, that collaborative spirit back? And one thing I've been hearing a lot of lately, as I'm sure you have, is, the impact of working remotely. So
yes.
Everyone worked together, and last couple of years we were apart, and then now maybe we're still apart. We're on Zoom, we're on Teams, or we're in a couple days a week. And talk about this us versus them. You might have your Monday, Wednesday on-site people, and then you've got your Tuesday, Thursday on-site people.
Yes. A new kind of us versus them. Now it's days of the week.
Versus them. Yeah. And I know that that program that Ashley Cox did for us recently, she really had some great tips that folks can use, and that for sure.
Yeah. I think that her tips on like with the us versus them, I think her tips on first of all, listening without judgment. I thought that that one blew my mind. I was like, how many times have I walked into a supervisor's office or even in a conversation with another teammate, and you can just tell in their eyes that they're not listening to you. They're just waiting for you to be done so they can make their point. You know what I mean? That listening without judgment can be huge. I know I worked at this one company and they really did team building really well. I know a friend of mine works at a company where they do whole days dedicated to team building, or they used to before the pandemic. Now they're hybrid and it's a little bit more difficult. But this company didn't put a whole lot of like set aside time for team building, but they did these little things that really made a huge difference. They would do these all hands meetings. The CEO would come in, and when he talked to you, it really felt like he was listening to your ideas. I mean, I was a lowly paint booth cleaner. I was basically a maid, right? And when I would say something in a meeting, the way he looked at you and the way he took it in, you could tell that he was listening and understanding where you were coming from. He'd respond in a way that made you felt listened to. And even if my ideas weren't put in place, it made me feel like I was part of the team, which really made a huge difference in the way I felt about that job. I mean, job-wise, I liked my job at the deli better, but, the stuff I was doing, I didn't really like cleaning paint booths, but I liked working for this company so much better. It was such a more pleasant experience. Mm-hmm. And even when I spoke like with my own coworkers, everyone was in their own position. They were in their own sections in the factory. But you could move around. You could help out other sections. And actually, it was expected of you. If somebody asked you for help, you were expected to go over there and do what you could to help them out. And nobody complained. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. Most of us didn't complain. And it was just a really pleasant experience. I think that listening without judgment is huge. So huge. Like, have you ever experienced someone who was kind of talking at you instead of to you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And you're right. When you feel like someone is really actively listening to you, really engaged, it 100% makes all the difference. And it's something that we should be doing every day, whether it's with our employees, our peers, our higher ups, or our families, our kids.
Yes, absolutely.
Outside, it makes all the difference. And one of the tips, Ashley, I had mentioned that I also really liked was like getting to know your team members. Yes. And I think it's so easy, especially when you're under pressure, you're stressed, you have deadlines, you come in the morning, you want to just jump in. It's so easy just to get caught up and go, hi, morning. Okay, let's jump in. Let's get to it. But you really do need to take those couple of minutes to say, good morning. How's your day? And with a genuine interest, not just, hey, how are you? Okay, let's go. It's like you were saying, it's like that. It's truly listening and engaging and being present. Being present is such an important factor when it comes to relationship building and collaboration, just being all in the moment, being there for them, which is so difficult sometimes because we're thinking like, oh, I know those emails. I've got to get that report. I know I have 30 messages sitting there waiting to be returned. But if we can just stop, pause, and be there in the moment. And I also how Ashley talked about being transparent. So big.
Yes.
And it's okay, it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to fail. We all do it. Own up to it. It's fine. But what I find is so important is also letting your team members feel comfortable when it comes to making mistakes, giving your team opportunities to fail. And that's all part of the collaboration. And if one person makes a mistake, that's okay. That's what the rest of us are there for, to, help spot it, help find a solution, and work together, to problem solve. I think we just get so siloed so too easily in our own roles that we forget to, to reach out to our team members and give them a hand.
Yeah, I know. I love that term that the company uses, the silos. I've never thought about it that way, but it just clicked when I first heard it. I was like, yeah, that is kind of how it goes. Everybody kind of gets stuck, especially when you're working in an office situation, you can get really sucked into your own cubicle and just forget about the rest of the world. And I know, I'm an introvert. So when I come into the office, I just want to sit down and do my work, get it done and go home. But there's a lot to be said for those moments where you start to learn things about your coworkers. And that thing you were saying about, accepting when people make mistakes and being present and being, willing to help people and understand where they're coming from, treating people like people, you know what I mean? There's always going to be human error where none of us are perfect. And I think that it's so important as well to be honest and to admit when you've made mistakes. I know I've been in jobs where, if I make a mistake, I'm afraid to bring it up. I'm just trying to cover it up as fast as possible, fix the issue so that my supervisor doesn't find out. But I think like when you're working with a team, when there's good collaboration, you feel safe to be honest and say, hey, I really messed this up. What do you guys think? How can we work this out together? That that help each other out mentality, that whole, when I worked for another company, they had this whole, there is no such thing as that's not my job. And a lot of people would take that as like, oh yeah, they just want us to do more work for free. But I think that mentality should really be more, not that you're taking on more work, not that you're doing the work of other people, but that you're available, like you were saying, present and able to help people if they ask, not to respond to them. If they come to you and say, hey, I made a mistake, or hey, I've got too much on my plate. Is there anything you can do? Not to respond with that's not my job, which I have heard before.
Oh, so we all have.
Yeah. I mean, even from supervisors, you know what I mean? Which they're, a lot of times you feel like they're supposed to be there to help you out. And sometimes they're just like, find a different way or figure it out. I've heard that one too. Figure it out. That's my least favorite phrase because I'm like I haven't already tried. But yeah, I think that being present, that being available and being available to help your team members out when they need it, that's really the kind of stuff that builds that solid foundation. I mean, the team we work in now is phenomenal. I don't think I'd ever be nervous to say, hey, I messed something up. And I have already, just working here since April. And every single time that happens, I bring it to the team and it's immediately a brainstorming session. Nobody's saying like, why'd you do that? Or how did you mess that up? You know what I mean? It's always like immediately like, let's see what we can do to fix it.
Absolutely. You're right. We have such an amazing team. I feel so fortunate. And what really gets me excited is our collaboration and, and we do it remotely. I have the time. I don't know if someone's in, the office or are they at home unless I know their backgrounds, what I see behind them. But just that team dynamic, that collaboration, that's what gets me excited. The bouncing the ideas, like you're saying, we work in such a great, safe workspace where we feel it's okay if something goes wrong. That's not the focus. We jump on, what can we do to rectify the situation, turn it around. And then after, well, what did we learn for it? Maybe we change our policies. Maybe we do something different to prevent it. And then sometimes there's those things that just, you can't, no matter how hard you play, stuff happens. But
absolutely,
yeah, and that's what I really like in a workplace is that collaboration, that working together. I'm great working on my own, head down for a few hours, but I need that interpersonal connection, that communication, and that's what really gets me excited, me pumped up. Is bouncing those ideas, working together, and it's fun. We do it the right way. It's fun.
Yes.
In our weekly meetings, we have a lot of fun. I mean, a little too much sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes too much fun. Sometimes we'll plan an hour-long meeting and just do team building, which, like I said, actually turns out to be better in the long run. Like, especially since we're doing this hybrid / work from home kind of situation right now. I know that the company is really concerned about the company culture and trying to get everyone in, but I think that our team at least is handling it like champs. Really, I feel like I know people better in our hybrid situation than I've known a lot of my past coworkers in every day in the office situations. And I know that the transition can be really, really hard. Like I said, that one friend of mine has her job used to dedicate a lot of actual time, days, set aside days for team building. And with the switch to hybrid, they haven't had the opportunity to kind of get everyone together in the office at the same time to do that anymore. And my friend has noticed a huge shift in like the temperament of the office. Like people are bickering. Nobody's getting along as well as they should have been, especially because during the pandemic, they brought in a lot of new people and they haven't done a whole lot of team building since then. And it makes a huge difference. This company she's been working at, for the last 15, 20 years, and she's had a great time. Now she's thinking of leaving because she's like, it's the temperature in the office has just dropped. It's cold now. Nobody is friends like they used to be. Nobody cares about each other like they used to be. And, sometimes she blames it on the hybrid situation or, if your team's facing the same thing, you might say, if we were all in the office, this wouldn't have happened. But our team's hybrid and some of us are fully remote right now. And I think we're doing an excellent job. I mean, like I said, I know some of you guys better than I've ever known my past coworkers. And I think just taking that little bit of time, even if it's over Zoom, to get to know your coworkers, to really come together and just have a good time. I think that makes all the difference.
Yeah. And I was going to say, and I think such a big difference for our group is that we, even though it might be meeting on Zoom, we're still taking that time. We're setting that specific time aside for that team building. And then we set additional time aside, to jump in and tackle those projects. So then when we are focused on, an end goal, we're so productive because we set aside, we did that team work, we have that trust. And that's such a big factor of it. We know each other, we trust each other. We know we're all in it 100%. We can rely on each other because again, we took that time. And I love working with teams on Zoom. I don't know. I feel like I can almost open up more because I'm there, interacting with everyone. I'm in the comfort in my own workspace. So it's kind of that, kind of that win-win situation. So I know that doesn't work for everyone, but for, our folks out there who are working either remotely or in a hybrid situation, we're a testament that it can work very, very well. And it can even be better because for some, working remotely is just the best situation for them personally. And, they're happier, more productive, and they're going to be more active, engaged team members.
Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. I I think that it's great that we know each other so well, that we can work so closely together. And like you said, that we're present, that we're available for each other, for sure. I think that helps an awful, awful lot. Different tools with the remote workspace, the Zoom, the Slack is really good for us. And I think humanizing each other helps a lot. I love on Slack when like people share pictures of their kids and they talk about different, places they're going on vacation. It humanizes us. It makes us feel like we're friends instead of just coworkers, which I think just, it kills it for me. It just makes it all the better. Michelle, we could really go on and on forever about this. I know tons of stories when it comes to collaboration, but we do want to wrap this up with some good time here. We don't want to keep everyone on for too long. There's plenty of people who can relate to what we said today. I think we can agree that making that effort to build those relationships across your team, but also across the company, can make a huge difference when it comes to collaboration in the workplace.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today on Women's Leadership Today. Please keep an eye out for our next episode where I'll be interviewing one of our expert speakers, Cheryl Grazer. Cheryl is a lot of fun. She's a real hoot. She has some great stories and experiences she wants to share with us, focusing on when collaboration goes well, some examples when it might not go so well. And also, of course, she'll have some great tips that we can all use in our own workplace. So thank you, Nikolette, and thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Yes, have a great day, Michelle.
Thank you, Nikolette. Bye.